Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine looking up, right, over a heavily secured military base and seeing something just floating there, something you absolutely cannot identify. And it's not just one person either, but like multiple people, different times, seeing the same strange thing. Today, we're doing a deep dive into an audio report that's, well, it's generated a lot of buzz. It's about alleged UFO footage over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is how this specific report, it kind of challenges our usual thinking about UFO sightings. It pushes us to look at the evidence maybe a bit differently beyond the usual skepticism. So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights and the really puzzling questions this whole event brings up.
All right, so we're talking about this alleged UFO seen right above Wright-Patterson. Now, our source clip, it acknowledges straight up that, look, it's easy to be skeptical, especially with so many videos online turning out to be, well, CGI or fakes.
Exactly. So given all that skepticism, what is it about this sighting? Why should we, pay closer attention? What makes this one stand out from the noise?
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The description itself. Our source says this object, it doesn't look like your typical disc-shaped UFO at all. Instead, it's described as looking, and I'm quoting here, maybe like a part of a wing, engine flipped upside down, just kind of hanging in the air. Just hanging there. And then it just floated, drifted off into the clouds, and poof, disappeared.
And that description, hanging in the air, that's unusual. It's not the classic saucer zipping around.
Exactly. It almost sounds like, I don't know, debris. But then it's hanging and drifting deliberately. It doesn't quite fit.
Well, that deviation from the stereotype, the typical disc, is actually something researchers often find interesting. It suggests people are describing what they genuinely saw, not just recycling images from movies.
Mm.
And the lack of obvious propulsion, just hanging, and then that slow drift, it adds this layer of genuine strangeness. It's harder to fake that convincingly or even to misidentify something common behaving that specifically. It feels different. But stepping back, maybe the most compelling part, the really crucial detail our source highlights, is that this wasn't just a one-off. It explicitly says there were two different instances. So two different clips from two different times, from two different groups of people, and they're seeing the same object. That significantly bolsters the claim, doesn't it, compared to just one person's video?
Right. And apparently that's why even the mainstream media picked it up,
Right.
which they're usually pretty hesitant to do with UFO stuff. Our source thinks it was exactly that corroboration. Multiple groups seeing the same thing. It addresses that immediate skepticism about, one person with a camera and maybe some editing software.
That's right. It wasn't just two groups saw something weird. It was two independent groups reporting the same specific, unusual object and behavior. From different times, different viewpoints, probably. That makes things like mass hysteria or a simple misidentification much less likely. And it really reduces the chance of a single elaborate hoax catching everyone out. It points towards something, well, something objectively being there. Researchers always look for that kind of independent validation. It builds a much stronger foundation.
Okay, which brings us to the location. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That has a whole other layer, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You have to ask. Why there? Our source points out, this is where they do some of this stuff. Historically, Wright-Pat is linked to, well, a lot of aerospace research and even early UFO investigations like Project Blue Book.
So if this object, this part of a wing engine flipped upside down, is just hanging out over one of the most sensitive Air Force bases, what should have happened? What's the normal response?
Well, standard operating procedure for any unidentified object in restricted military airspace, especially over a base like Wright-Pat, is immediate action. We're talking fighter jets, scrambled, interception, visual identification, and potentially, if it's unresponsive or deemed hostile, orders to engage. Shoot it down, basically.
But that didn't happen here, according to the source. No jet scrambled, no big military response.
Exactly. And that absence of action is, in itself, really significant information. Our source makes a very strong inference from this. Let me find the quote. Here. They knew full well what was going on with this device in the air. They would have shot it down, they would have sent something after it, or it was there.
Or it was theirs. That's the kicker.
Right, that's the implication. The lack of an aggressive response strongly suggests it wasn't seen as unknown or hostile, which leans towards the possibility that the Air Force knew exactly what it was because, well, maybe it belonged to them. It flips the whole script from alien visitors to potentially highly classified terrestrial technology being tested.
So let's pull it all together for a second. You've got this really weird object description, not a saucer. You've got multiple separate groups of people filming it at different times. And it's happening right over Wright, Patterson, a super sensitive base, and apparently nothing happens. No military intervention.
Yeah.
When you hear all that laid out, what stands out most to you? Does it make you look at UFO reports a bit differently?
I think what stands out is how the combination of factors challenges simple explanations. Any one piece, the weird shape, multiple witnesses, the location could maybe be explained away, but all together. It demands a closer look. And this deep dive, really, it's about thinking critically about how we evaluate unusual claims like this. The source itself encourages that, right? It says, decide for yourself. And it even provides links to the clips, which suggests a certain transparency.
Yeah, that's true. It's not just saying believe this. It's more like, here's the data. What do you make of it?
Exactly. It invites a more informed assessment, moving beyond just knee-jerk acceptance or dismissal.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive here, we've looked at a really fascinating account. It's an unusual object, definitely not your classic flying saucer, seen by different groups independently,
Right.
hovering over a key military base, Wright Patterson. And the big takeaway from our source, the lack of military action strongly implies, well, that it might have been theirs.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, this case really challenges us, doesn't it? It reminds us that unidentified in UAP doesn't automatically mean alien. Sometimes the most interesting clues aren't in what's seen, but in what doesn't happen, like what isn't shot down over sensitive airspace. And that silence, that lack of action, might point towards incredibly advanced, maybe classified human technology. We know secret projects exist.
So I've given you the key insights from this source material. Now, for you, the listener, maybe the question to ponder is this. If it was theirs, what exactly was it? What kind of technology could behave like that?